the video for probably one of my most anticipated figures in recent memory. It is Iron Factory's EX-11 Overlord, which, as you can see, is their version of Overlord in their smaller scale line of figures, which is really cool. He comes in some neat packaging in the standard little blister blister bubble inside a box. Neat purple and green colors, some neat artwork around the sides. But if you've gotten an Iron Factory figure before, you kind of got an idea of how their packaging works. You also get the instruction manual and a sword, which we will get to later, as well as everything you see here to make the base mode. And like I said, I've been really anticipating this one. I like Overlord, and this is kind of an IDW take on him. However, the base mode, we haven't seen the base mode in the comics. So this is kind of an add-on mode. It's reminiscent, obviously, of the old G1 Overlord toy, and it's a nice little mode here. One of the few drawbacks to this mode is that while these ramps do kind of peg in, they kind of friction slide into some slots up here on the bay. These tank pieces, they don't clip in anywhere. They just kind of slide up here, and like in between this gap between these pegs and the bottom is where the ramps sit, but they don't lock into place super tightly. They just kind of sit there by friction. It would bother me more if I was really into this for the base mode, but as you can see, like here's Ultra Magnus. The base mode's really kind of out of scale to a lot of things, but it's neat that they included it. You can see the tank halves, and it turns into a base very similar to how the original G1 Overlord did. So yeah, from here we go. Like I said, there's not really a whole lot to talk about it. It's just a little kind of repair bay base mode. There's some ramps. But we'll go into vehicle mode here from this. And to do that, you just pull the tank sides off. All three of the ramps go off to the side. And this ramp actually it's got a couple little hooks here, and there's a couple little grooves here in his hip pieces. So when you snap this on, they actually snap into those leg pieces to hold them securely. So that's nice. But the ramps themselves in alt mode do go off to the side. They don't fit on to the figures anywhere. The tank is a lot like how you would expect the tank to be. You bring this, straighten these leg pieces up, pop the gun out of here, fold up the handle, just like that. Those will come off. Then you fold the side tread of the tank around, and you take this piece with the little turbine facing forward, and it plugs in right back here like this. And you have to do it with the turbine facing forward, because if you try to put the round part forward, it doesn't fit. It's off-center just enough that it won't fit over that hinge. And do that on the same thing on the other side. Straighten the leg, flip the tread out, and attach this little side piece right here. Now these are a little loose, so you might want to just watch as you guide it in. And then the gun, the instructions show it upside down like this. You can attach it this way as well. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to do it like the instructions with the handle on top. But it goes right there on that peg, and then it'll sandwich onto the other peg on the other side. Just like that. And there is the tank. And for the jet, we come up here. We'll turn his head around. This piece flips down. These panels fold in. Just like that. Bring the arms down, flip up these purple tips, and make sure the arms are pulled out so you can rotate this piece up. And then you push the whole assembly, the whole shoulder assembly right here, kind of goes up and in, and then this little tab right here will tab into the side. Just like that, and same over here. And then fold the rear wings down, and and then this little landing gear right here. I had it folded out in base mode. It's supposed to be folded down, but just the landing gear just flips out. And there's his jet mode. And there are his alt modes there. And again, very Overlordish. You can, if you want, because of the way these connector pieces are in here, it's very improvised. But you can pull these up, and you can split the tank and attach them to the rear of the jet if you want. You kind of have to flip these out a little bit too. They kind of cover those holes, so you kind of have to unhinge that. You can attach these things to the back of the jet and get kind of an improvised tank jet mode if you're so inclined. And Looks a little silly. It does have the turbines back here on these pieces, so it doesn't look entirely angelic. And of course, it's got these pieces right here that kind of look like fins, so it's a weird looking jet, but you can combine them in alt mode. I haven't found any other way to stick these together. The instructions don't show. Instructions don't even show this. But yeah, if you want to do that, you can. But yeah, the alt modes are pretty cool. I love the jet on here. Like the jet is a very neat looking kind of futuristic jet. A little more futuristic than his original version, but pretty cool. Then on to robot mode, of course, one everybody's looking forward to. You take these fins, fold them back like this. Take these pegs right here on the waist and fold them down. Untab the arms. Bring the shoulders out like this. Flip these panels out, leave the purple tips up. This actually comes off, flips down onto his back. Turn his head around. Open up these panels right here and flip his fists out. They click into place and then the panel slides in behind him. Same over here. This one is a little bit more difficult to get out. It kind of likes to get hung up right here, but you can get under his fingers. Come on. There we go. Flip that fist out. Pull that back. And there you have his upper body. Tank, split in half again. Pop out his gun. Flip down the handle. He can hold that. We'll show that off in a minute. These pieces come off the side of the tank. You fold this tread piece down. The foot comes out. And the foot's actually on, it's on a hinge right here. You can see the pin. But then back in here, it's on a ball joint. So you can pull it down, flip this up, and once that's out, you've got a good range of motion in the foot. It can rotate, so it can support them in a lot of different poses. It's a neat little mechanism here. So that comes down. This piece right here, you push the click the little tab in there, and then with the turbine up, it clips on to the back of the leg just like that. And then you take one of the side ramps. Either one of these will fit on either leg, and you just take that, plug it onto the front of the leg. And there is his right leg. And then come over here, do the same thing on this half of the tank. Flip that out, fold that down, flip the foot out and down, flip that up, push that in, clip it onto there, put on the tread, and there you have his legs, which actually slide up, and there you can see there's a little divot here. They actually clip on. You'll hear them snap into place once you push them all the way up. Clip those onto there. Put his gun in his hand, and there is Overlord in robot mode. And he's pretty cool. Like he's a nice little version. He looks like the IDW Overlord. His face sculpt. Let me see if I can get a focus here on his face. There we go. It's very IDW-esque, a little exaggerated. He doesn't have the rich, full lips that I know some people like, but it's a nice representation of his head in the comic. So yeah, this is just the base robot mode. And again, this is how I would keep robot mode if I were just transforming him between tank and jet and robot mode, because everything kind of fits. He's got his gun. He's got everything you need to make the two alt modes, and he'll have these two extra pieces. He does come with this kind of drifts katana. It's a sword he picked up on the Lost Light. If you read More Than Meets the Eye, and he can hold that in either fist as well. Just slides right through. Now, if you want a more G1 looking Overlord, you can bring these things down. Now, these come off in order to allow the cockpit to attach over here. And what I do, instead of just tossing these to the side as extra pieces, I peg them down here onto the legs. You don't have to do that, but it lets you keep everything handy-dandy and not have to worry about loose pieces sitting over in the box. Now, this piece right here is actually on a clip, and it comes off on the body end of it. It doesn't come off on the cockpit end. It comes off on the body end. There's an opening in the thing, and you can kind of wiggle it. It's on the underside of this, so you kind of got to get it at the right angle, and it's loose enough that it's hard to do. But you can see it's an open clip right there, and it just clips over. The way it wiggles, getting underneath and getting enough pressure at the right angle to pop it off can be a little tricky sometimes. It does have a little bit of natural give in it, and I haven't noticed any signs of it stressing, but I would be careful with it, because a piece like this, you want to make sure you're pushing it up from underneath. You don't want to be stressing it in any other direction, or you could risk snapping this clip. Now, one of the things that's nice about this is if you are having trouble, if you don't want to do it like this, this upper back piece is a separate piece and does come off. So if you are having trouble getting that clip undone, you can pull this off, and then you can see the opening, and it's a little easier to get it off that way if you're having trouble. But like I said, it is entirely possible to do it without removing this piece. But as a fail-safe, if you just absolutely can't get it off, there's an option for you. So yeah, and then this comes down. The clip actually folds in and will clip into place, so it doesn't flip around when he's in over here on the arm mode. Flip up the landing gear, and then this little peg right here will peg onto his arm. And then if you do that, you can have him hold his sword at the same time. The wings are down here, and this ramp right here, it's got a little angled tab here, and you notice this little slot here on his back has the same angle on it. You can store this onto his back. Now with the opening here, that's for alt mode, it would have been nice if they'd made this so like this little opening here would have allowed this to kind of stay clipped on and fold down behind it, just to give it a little bit more security. It will stay on. It'll clip into place fairly securely. It's not just shaking it isn't going to knock it off, but because of where the tab's located and the length and width of the platform, and the fact that this tab is not a fixed tab, it's kind of formed by the two halves of the bay, it will sit in there, and if you stick it in there and put him down on the shelf for display, it'll stay in there just fine. Like I said, you can shake it a little bit and it's not going to fall out. But if you handle him, if you pick him up, the way you tend to pick up an action figure, and if you kind of grab him supporting the back, around the middle or whatever, it's really easy to wiggle it enough to pop it off. You might be able to put, since this tab doesn't do anything but stay in this slot, you probably could put like a thin little layer of like floor polish or something on there to make that tab a little thicker and have it wedge in a little better. But as it is, it's just slightly loose. Like I said, it's not going to come off from display or anything like that, but as you move them around, it is fairly easy to knock that piece off the back. But the point is, with that in there, he can have there's no pieces sitting around extra. He's got a sword, both the wings are on his legs, he's got his gun, he's got his little shield, and he's got the ramp on his back. Everything you need to turn him into all of his modes right there on him, which is kind of cool. So yeah, posability, we'll go ahead and pop this off just because it's going to make it easier for the rest of it. He's got like a ball jointed head, which is a little, turns side to side. It can look a little up and down. It's a little limited due to the helmet and the chest, but he does have a pretty good range of motion in his head. He's got ball joints here at the shoulders, up here, as well as that hinge for the transformation. So the ball joint there. He does have a bicep swivel right here. He's got a hinge at the elbow. The wrists do not swivel. They just flip out. He's got ball joints at the hip. Go like that. He's got a thigh swivel. He does have hinge knees. I think they're actually dual hinge knees. There's a pin here and a pin here. Although, again, due to the shape of all the plastic around it, I don't know how you don't get a whole lot of benefit from it. But he does have, oh, there you go, dual hinge knees. As well as that ball joint and pivot in the foot. So you get a good range of motion, and you can get him in some wide stances with that foot flat. With that ball joint. So all in all, he's fairly well posable. He's got some decent range of articulation there. Now, one of the things I was going to mention when I first opened him, because it doesn't mention any of this, it doesn't mention this bit in the actual instruction manual, was that because of this panel back here, it doesn't give him any waist articulation. But as I was messing with him, I noticed this pin right here through his abdomen, and because he actually has an ab crunch. You can unpeg the lower half of this thing, and it gives him an ab crunch, as well as unlocks, now that he's got some room to maneuver there, he does have a waist swivel. So you can actually get him in some cool hunched over, about to attack kind of poses with his, when you unlock that waist swivel and ab crunch there. So all in all, like, very well designed. I do wish, like I said, my only real complaint, not even really a complaint, if I had my druthers, I would have liked it if these ramps tabbed in a little bit more securely on the bottom half in city mode. I don't know how often I'll be putting him in city mode, so it's not a huge concern for me. But it would have been nice if maybe there was a slot on the end of it that could have tabbed onto one of the little tabs inside the tank half. Also, a slightly more secure connection for this. As it is, like I said, it works just fine. I feel like if this clip could have allowed this to fold around down behind it, that would have held this piece in place a lot more securely. Because every time you pick them up, you'd be putting your finger on the back of the cockpit and not on the ramp itself. But you can store everything in his robot mode, and again, a thin little layer of floor polish on either side of that tab should hold that into place fairly securely. And I think you probably just want to do it because of this angle matches up the angle inside inside his back. Just put some on the two sides of the tab, and that should be enough to hold it in securely if you go that route. Okay, whatever. We'll get that later. Size comparison. Here he is with Iron Factory's Ultra Magnus, their city commander. And they look really good together. Overlord's just slightly taller, so he's roughly in scale with how they were in the comics. They look really good together. If you saw my Twitter earlier, you'd see I actually did the pose where Overlord was stabbing Ultra Magnus, and Ultra Magnus was actually up in the air, and it was fully unsupported. Like, Overlord was just shoving a sword through him and lifting him up off the ground, and Overlord was able to support both of their weight, even though, like, you can see Ultra Magnus is probably even a little bit more massive than he is, in overall weight and stuff. Here he is with the Sentinel Optimus pen, just because that was another character in about that scale I had to grab and bring in. If you're curious how he fits with Deluxes, I have these in my bag. So there he is with Combiner Wars Prowl. Obviously, if that were their scale in the comics, Overlord would not have been as big of a problem for Prowl as he was. And here he is with Chug Galvatron, or not Chug Gal, I guess Generations Galvatron, the Stealth Bomber Galvatron, or saying Galvatron, Megatron. It's been a long day. Stealth Bomber Megatron there. And again, I feel like Megatron may not have had as much trouble with Overlord if Overlord were a puny pipsqueak in relation. But just to give you an idea of how big these guys are in relation to some common scaled figures from the main line. But yeah, he's a really great figure. He's got some great articulation. Really nice design. It's got a lot of detailing on it, but not so much that it feels cluttered. It's just about right for a figure of this size. It's a really nice representation of the IDW style Overlord, although it does have that base mode for the G1 fanatics as well. Just a neat little figure, and again, I'm really looking forward to Mastermind's Carnifex that's coming out there, but he's much larger. He's like Starsaber, Masterpiece Starsaber sized. This is a really great little Overlord to just, for carrying around and just playing with. It's simple, it's basic, the transformation isn't difficult. The alt modes, the tank and the jet are pretty cool. Although again, transforming him, if it's a pocket toy, you're probably going to want to leave the city ramp at home and not turn him into the city. And you will have these pieces sitting off to the side in alt mode. But if you're carrying around in your pocket, you can just toss those back in your pocket. So yeah, I'm really digging what Iron Factory is doing at this scale. DX9 is also doing some good smaller scale figures. Although I think Iron Factory may be winning me over overall. I think Iron Factory's just really been putting out some good solid figures in a smaller size class with good detailing, good alt modes, and just really nice designs. But there he is. There is Iron Factory's EX-11 Evil Lord.